Well, as you can see, my whole table is covered, and this is the wonderful collection of fairy decadence. Does that sound interesting? From our friends at Hunkydory. And Heidi has been having a great time. In fact, this is one of the cards that she made, and this is an easel card. And oh, how pretty, yes. Okay, won't you please come play with us? Now, before we get into the projects, I want to kind of go through what's here. So let me start from the left. And this is Fairy Decadence foiled edge-to-edge cardstock. And what that means is obviously that the foiling goes from edge to edge, top to bottom, side to side. And what you're going to get are 16 sheets, and there's going to be 8 styles of foiling. So you'll get them in 2 different colors, just like this is showing you, in light green and dark green. And just to show you a little bit more, so this is in pink and purple and lavender and black and gold. How gorgeous. And see, pink and green. And we've got this hexagon. And this is also in a cream. And there's a few more, but they are in this package. So I'm just going to set this aside. Then we also have a little book of decadent fairies, Fairy Decadence. And there are 120 sheets. They are 4 3/4 inches square. And as always, the little books are solidly packed with art. And I thought it was interesting because they did the fairies kind of by color. So teal, and so I've put these together by color, I believe, and pink. And you saw one in the beginning. And also pink and black, very striking, and purple, and teal. There we go. So beautiful imagery. And then to go along with that, and there are a few more that Heidi has used, there is the Miri cardstock. And Hunkydory has started doing this with other collections, and I'm buying them because Miri is such a great look. And this has 16 sheets. They are 2 of each color. And so you can see kind of that blueberry there. Of course, gold. Of course, a light lavender, a green, a purple, a darker green, black, and that's that same blueberry, and then a pink. And again, some are used in the projects. Then we have these topper sets, and there are 4 of them by color, as you can see. So this is the amethyst, which is what they're calling purple. The emerald is their green. The midnight beauty is the black. And then the pretty in pink. Now, each of these has a sheet of foiled die-cut toppers. You can see borders, there's greetings, and you can see the artwork. And some of them will be in multiple layers. So this has a centerpiece, and it has a gold border as well as a patterned border. Same thing with this one. Then there is a patterned cardstock, and then there is a gold cardstock that's also patterned. So you've got the 3 of them in each of the packages. So as I said, now the ones that are being used are the emerald and the amethyst. So I'm going to tuck these 2 out. Now the same artwork is in the little book also. Certainly not the foiling, certainly not the larger size, but that's why everything goes together. So with all of that, let's get to the projects. So this is the first one. And because this is black, I'm going to set it on a white background so you can really see it. And what Heidi did is she took her 5 by 6.5 inch card and trimmed it down to be 5 inches square. And she has the fold at the top. And so that started her collection. Now, she did take the Miri, the black one, and she used that to cover her 5 by 5 card. And so all you'll do is put your adhesive on the card and place your cardstock, whichever kind it is, along the score line, along the fold, and along one edge. Press it down, turn it over, trim it to fit. I use scissors. You can use anything you want. And then that becomes your first layer. Now her second layer is this piece. And you can see, excuse me, that this is going to fit very nicely on the card because it is 4 3/4 inches square. Works out perfectly. Now, what she did is she glued one sheet down, but then she went back and she cut a second sheet. And I didn't tell you this. You get 6 of each of the sheets that I showed you and that I will continue to show you in this project and in the next one. So because you have so many, there's just a lot that you can do. Now, in her second layer, she just cut along the arch. So let me just show you here. So she cut along the arch, cut around the butterfly wings or the fairy wings, and glued that, foam taped it on top. And then she did a third layer, which is the fairy herself. And she did an interesting thing. I'm hoping you can see that her wings are kind of bowed. So she took her bone folder and just kind of curved them over the edge like you would curl ribbon. And so that just gives that bit of curving, which I think is really, really nice. And you just get some depth beautifully. So she's foam taped, the arch is foam taped, everything else is flat. And then to add some interest, she added the gold jewel dazzles, and you can see how they are on the sheet, but she's put them in the corners and she put them in the centers of the flowers. The With Love comes from the gold tiny words and phrases, and just works so well in something like this that has a lot of design, but you still want a greeting. So that worked nicely. Now on the inside of her card, let me show you what she did there. So she used one of the edge to edge. Now I think I showed you a black one. This is the cream, very deco looking. And she turned it this way. Now she did cover her whole inside of her card with it. You can only see kind of the edges, but then she took a second sheet, a different sheet in the black collection, and she trimmed it to go down to just hitting that little lacy border, top and bottom, and then she matted it on one of the Miri gold and put it inside her card. Now, before that, I just noticed that she did something else. Let me get this out of the way. Look at her wings. The wings are flipping up. So she did the same thing, except that she glued one layer down, that matted layer that's on the gold, and then she took just a second sheet and just cut out the fairy. Again, she used the bone folder just to curve those wings. And I think it's really interesting because Heidi lives in Wisconsin. She mailed this to me, so it was flat in a package. And then, of course, I'm moving it around, getting things ready for the webisode. But look how the wings, both on the front and on the inside, are still shaped. So I think that works really nicely. A subtle detail, but a really nice one. And this piece, of course, is foam taped. Make a Wish is part of that tiny words and phrases, more of the jewel dazzles on the edges. So this little card is quite ready to go. Okay, let me show you another one. In fact, it's the card that I showed you in the beginning. This too is a 5x5 card. And obviously this is using the pink. Now this is also using art out of the little book. And Heidi used the scoreboard to trim that front layer. So again, took her, you can take your 5 by 6.5 inch cards, trim them down to 5 by 5, or you can get our Hunkydory's 5 by 5 cards and envelopes in a package, whichever you want to do. And so she did take just the card front, placed it on the scoreboard, and scored it at 2.5 inches. So it was in the middle. And that is going to create the basis for this easel card. So then she cut 2 pieces of the pink, and I'm just folding this down so you can see. This is the pink Miri out of that Miri collection, lovely pink. And she cut 2 pieces. Now the directions and the measurements are down below. Just click on any of the cards and you will see them. That way you don't have to remember these measurements, because quite honestly, I'm not going to give you all of them because it's just too much to take verbally. So they're all written down for you. So 2 pieces of that pink, one glued to the top, one glued to the bottom. Then she took this image And let me show it to you. So she's larger at this point, but Heidi trimmed her down, and see that little edge, that little dotted edge? She cut down there, and I know that's going to cut into the roses, but we just have to be brave and do that. And then she matted it on a pattern, which I thought was an interesting choice, and it's on this one. So she matted that. It's pretty narrow mat, it's about 1/8 of an inch. So you're really just going to see some tips of that gold foiling, which is very pretty. And then when she had that ready, she attached the bottom to the bottom of the card. That way it leaves this part loose, because that's going to be doing our easel. Now there is another option that you can do if you would like, and Heidi has done it on this one. So these are folded, again, they're bowed, but she did a little bit differently. Before she matted this on the edge-to-edge cardstock, she used a penknife. She put this piece on a self-healing mat and cut right along each of the wings, and made sure that when she attached it, she did not attach the wings. And that way she had them fluttering, and she could bow them with her bone folder. You can do that, or you can leave it flat, whichever you like. Or you can do another layer on top, which is what she did on the last card. She does try to do something different with every card, so that's kind of nice. Now these pearls that you see, that is a Hunkydory item, and these are the pearl pinks. You can see lots of different shades of pink in this. And the little hello, well, you can probably figure that's going to be the tiny words and phrases again. And it's right down there, just a little greeting. Now on the inside of the card, let me open this up. She did a similar step in that she used this is the edge to edge in the pale pink, and used that to cover the inside of her card. Now you can elect to do that or not, it's your choice, of course. She did take this piece and let me just show you, okay. And she did trim it down a little bit so that she could mat it on this light pink Mary. So just a little bit. And that's something I also find, along with Heidi, is that just a narrow mat does a really nice job of just kind of finishing it. Now, she did the same thing on this. So before matting it, she placed this on the self-healing mat, cut along with the penknife so that she could lift those wings, and then attached it and matted it on her pink Mary. And what you'll have is one like this. Now, she has reinforced these with foam tape underneath, so that will just keep them nice and solid. She also has the pearls, as you can see, and in the front she has hello. Here she has love from that same sheet of tiny words and phrases. But you can see that flash of foiling that actually you can even see it underneath the wings, which is kind of fun. Okay, that is our second card. Now we're going to move into these topper sheets, and oftentimes we put them together in a bundle, but this time we have them separate. So if there's one that gets your fancy, that's perfectly fine. Let me show you the card that she did, and here it is. So just beautiful, and you can see. Now this is using Hunkydory's tent cards. This is the 7x5, or as I like to say, the 5x7. And what the tent cards all have is the score line is at the top. And so that allows it to stand as a tent. However, Heidi did trim off, I believe it was 2 inches from the front of her card. And that allowed her to have something going on inside, but let it peek to the front of the card. So that's kind of nice. So she has done several things here, and she's going to, of course, use everything that's in the collection, but let me show you what that amounts to. So in the front of her card, she did use, this is the edge to edge, so you can see it's the purple. So the same colors, the pink, the purple, the green, and the black are used throughout the whole collection. So there you've got this. And she did, of course, just place it so that it's just going to leave a border around 3 sides of the card flap. And then she took the, I thought it was really fun because she used, this is the cardstock that is patterned. It's not foiled. It's part of that topper collection. And we'll be seeing that a little bit more in the inside of the card. But right now, we're going to take the foiled piece and the die cut piece. Let me open this up for you to show you. There she is. How pretty. And this is very typical. These are the foiled die cuts, and this is the foiled sheet, and this is the pattern sheet. And the artwork, of course, is complementary. As you can see, the fairies looking at each other. So this fairy is going to get foam taped, and it is going to get matted on this side of the sheet. So let me show you that. Okay, here we go. So it's going to get matted on this piece. Can you see the purple? You can see that little bit of that border, that gold border. Well, that's what she is going to get matted on. And obviously you're going to first matter on the purple, then on the patterned, and then onto the foiled. So all of those are happening, okay, on that piece. Now, can you see that fairy flashing right there? Well, that is also been done with the purple foil, but it is using these fairies. And this is a die set called Two Fairies. And this long fairy is right here. And it's really a fun look, I think, to have the two fairies together and with these beautiful, beautiful wings and all of the foliage around her. And this fairy is holding a butterfly inside. So she used this part on the card front. On the inside of the card, she's using this area. So she's really maximizing the artwork that's included. And so that is going to get trimmed, showing the yellow down below, again, just so you can see that. So it's going to go all the way up there. It's going to get matted on the purple, then double matted on the foiled edge to edge, and get glued into the center. Now, on these die cuts, there is this little one. So she die cut it twice, turning the foil over so she could have them looking at each other. And the additional that she's done comes with the script Greetings Dazzles. So the Just For You is right up here and just goes right along that edge. Inside, Wishes. And those little flowers, that all comes from the script Greeting Dazzles. This package is only black. There are 3 sheets in it, giving you lots and lots of greetings. And of course, this being a 10 card, the envelopes are included with it. Okay, now let me get this put back together because I want to show you at the very end the same thing again. So I'm just going to tuck this. Now, our last card is going to be using the Emerald Dreams, okay? And what Heidi has done is this card. Now, this is a very different card in that she has used the patterned cardstock as her card base, so to make this piece. So it's a long card, and here is the piece that she used. Okay, so she is going to lay this flat, and I'm going to turn it over because that's where I have the measurements. Don't worry about that, this piece, because I'll talk about that in a minute. So this is the back of this piece, okay? So you're going to measure 3.5 inches from the right-hand side, 3.5 inches from the left-hand side, and score each of those, okay? Then you can, while this is here, you can go ahead and take the green Mary, isn't that just very rich, and cut a piece that's going to fit in the center. I'll show you why in just a second as I turn this over. Now, before you fold anything, you're going to want to place this on that self-healing mat. And I would recommend using the small scissors that we carry. It's just going to be so much easier because this is a heavy cardstock, and it will just be a lot easier just to trim that. And you're just going to trim her up to that score line, okay? So when you're making that score line, you want to be careful not to score into her. All right, that's going to work nicely. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you, I have this, is that this is going to be a mountain fold, this is going to be a valley fold, and then what happens is that green piece that you've placed is going to be a really pretty edge just on the left side. So doesn't that work nicely and pretty effortlessly, I'll point out. Now, these are part of that sheet in the Emerald Dreams, and this is glued down, this is foam taped. And then she has also added, remember we had the gold jewel dazzles on the first card that I have now buried, well, there it is. I thought I had buried it on my table, but she has used these very cleverly, I think. She's used them on the bodies of the butterflies, on the wings, on the emerald, on her hairband, also on her earrings in the flowers. And so this is never give up on your dreams. Next time you think of beautiful things, don't forget to count yourself. That's a really nice greeting. And then she used these flowers, and she used the cream, and this is also the canary. So you can see that they are just glued in place, and that's just gorgeous. Now on the inside, there are more of the die cuts, so she is glued flat and just perfectly fits. These two are foam taped. More of the flowers. She did use the bow maker, which, you know, Heidi always uses the bow maker, and I know many of you have found this to be just a godsend. Just makes it so easy to make those bows. And she used the 1/8 inch ribbon and just zodded that in place. She also has one on the front that I forgot to mention right at her neck. So that's going to work nicely. And this is just quite pretty. The only problem that I want to call to your attention, that's not really a problem, it's just something to know, is that this is a wider card now. So it won't fit in the slimline card. So you're just going to, this will be a card either you hand to someone or maybe put it into just a larger envelope. So that will work nicely, but she is quite stunning, don't you think? So this is quite a collection, and I think it's pretty wonderful. So we have the 4 different topper sets, our Emerald Dreams, our Amethyst Garden, the pink, pretty in pink, and the Midnight Beauty. So we've got those. And then to coordinate it with it, we have the set of 16 Miri cardstocks, as well as the edge-to-edge foiled. And then we also have the little book of, which is always a favorite. So all of this. Now, if you would like to get all of it, that's great, but we have a deal for you. Over on the right-hand side, there's a money saver. You're going to get a discount. You can certainly buy things individually, whatever works for you. And we've got both options available, of course. If you happen to be watching us on YouTube, we would love it if you would subscribe, like us. Head on over to paperwishes.com. We buy and have a great relationship with Hunkydory. We have bought from them for, gosh, I think it's 15 years, maybe longer. And we pretty much buy everything that they have because we think they're just really an excellent company, and they have a lot of design ability, which really pleases me, and a lot of different things that we don't see from other companies. So that's great. And I do want to thank Heidi for being so creative, as always, and sharing her talents with you. I want to remind you that money saver And all of the written instructions are there at the bottom of your screen. And by the way, if you just scroll down, you can leave comment. You don't have to purchase in order to leave a comment. We welcome your thoughts at any time. I want to thank you for joining us, and thank you most of all for being part of our Paper Wishes family. Bye-bye.